I want to start off by saying this is not a clip show. If you clicked on this video because you're hoping for clips from Demon Slayer, then click off the video right now because you're ruining my retention and the amount of people that watch the video. Other than that, what I want to be talking about is why the Stone Hisashi, I won't be able to say his actual name, it's Gyomei, I think, or Gyomei, is crying all the time, and I wanted to address that because maybe you cry all the time and you're wondering like how are people crying all the time, or you're questioning like why are people crying all the time. And I want to make this short video to explain why, and it's actually quite a simple concept from my understanding. What I found on Google when I was doing the research was they said he's crying because he's sensitive, which I mean there may be a part in that, but I believe that to be completely wrong. The real reason he's crying is because he's been able to tap into universal consciousness. Universal consciousness can be thought about in these mental terms as when you go to sleep at night and you start dreaming. That is universal consciousness. That is something that only you yourself individually have, along with the thoughts and perceptions that you have of the world. You don't think about this in terms of like, oh, I have these other types of views because these things are outside of me. Maybe you do at this point in time. I used to think that at the same time as well too. But as I started to realize and learn is like we can go back in time at any point into the future or into the past and experience that as if it was real. That's what the Stone Hisashi is doing all the time, is he understands that the world is suffering, that everything else is going on, and that he has embraced all of these characteristics, these flaws, these feelings, these emotions, these experiences into himself. You could say that's because of his past, and maybe his past plays a role into it, but in actuality, it's not his past. What it truly is he has delved into and touched every other human, every other living creature, every other person in the world. And from one of the schools, from the Frankfurt School, it's a philosopher, he talks about this as well too, is like, what is love? And basically what the Stone Hisashi has done is he just loves everything so deeply. So whenever something is disappeared or is no longer in existence or in the reality that he himself is in, he feels sorrow and pain for this. And this is happening all around him because there's 7 billion people on this world. And it's just like everybody's suffering in some way, shape, or form. So he's taken on that burden of himself. You can visualize this as like consciousness is like on the outer realm, as you can see right here on screen. And then it comes into you, and you are a version of consciousness, so you can tap into that universal consciousness, and you can either feel suffering, happiness, sorrow, or pain, or you can have anything that you want out of that as well. You can also visualize that in these terms as well too, and this is one way that I like looking at it. I found this piece of art that I found pretty interesting. It's like when you close your eyes or you look at, like when you close your eye, the world ceases to exist. Sure, you can still hear things outside of yourself, but if you've ever taken some sort of psychedelics in any way, shape, or form, maybe you are, maybe you aren't. I don't recommend it to everybody, obviously, for certain reasons. But like when you close your eyes, the world ceases to exist. When you're falling asleep at night, the world ceases to exist, and you go into this new reality, this different world that you never believed to be true. And all of a sudden, it creates these figments of your imagination to create it into a reality. And I don't know if you've ever woken up from sleeping, and like when you wake up, you have to like feel your body to feel like, oh, am I actually here right now, because that dream was so real. That's how the real world, this world that we're in, where you're watching this video right now, works as well too. And that's why this image was so interesting, because like when we look out and we see certain images, characters, views, and or perceptions of the world, that is what gives us that feedback, and we're able to interpret it into our own minds. That's why some people, they can look at this and see, like I see green, but you may look at this and you may see red because you're colorblind. Vice versa. I could be the one that's actually colorblind, and this could actually be red for all I know, and you could be the one that's not colorblind because maybe it is actually green. Vice versa, you know what I'm saying? Because if we have that understanding that like we all have our own individual perceptions of the world, there's another word in philosophy called solipsism, which solipsism is like only I am the thing that exists, but like there is other things outside of myself that do exist, but it's also like you are the only one that is thinking the thoughts that you think. And I've been thinking about this a lot more. Maybe I'll do a video on Rick and Morty around it as well too, where it's just like you are the only thing that, when you think about it, like you can only know your thoughts. You can't know my thoughts. You can't know the person's next to you thoughts. You can't know the person at the gym or walking out. Like you can't know anybody else's thoughts until you talk with them. And even when you do talk with them, you might not get all of their thoughts, because after the conversation's over, they may have new thoughts. Something to think about. So like one of the versions that I can kind of relay, and we'll wrap up the video right after this, is like there's misconception that like you're the person paying attention to the awareness, but like if you didn't have your awareness, then you wouldn't exist, because all there ever is there is only awareness. And the more aware you are of certain situations or certain people or certain situations, as the Stone Hisashi is, you start to realize that it's like, okay, I can be aware of all of this around me, and I decide to put that quote unquote burden on me when it's not really a burden. It's just you understand that like the world is just the world, and you're either taking it as you are or as you're not. Because like I've been on walks and I've looked at animals and I've looked at other people, and like I can feel the pain and the suffering and the sorrow that they themselves have, because I almost put myself, not even almost, I put myself in their shoes. I'm like, wow, this is great. Like, this is fantastic. It's maybe why you feel it in movies, or you feel it in shows or animes or different series that you watch, is because you relate with that specific person, so you feel the emotions that they feel. And that's what a good actor does, is they help you get into that emotional state to help you overcome other sorts of things. So like, if you want to improve your life, if you want to have a different view of the world, if you want to be crying all the time or weeping all the time, like, you need to tap into your awareness and understand that, like, the world is suffering, you are suffering, but it's also at the same time that does give you power, because now you have an awareness of it. And if you have an awareness of it, then you can uproot it and you can start to live your life more fully. Cool. Catch you in the next one.